Coffee with Caregivers production costs are covered by a partnership with United Healthcare and the National Foster Parent Association. We receive no federal or state funding and depend on our constituents and viewers to help us achieve our goals to provide support and services that meet identified needs within our mission. We would like to welcome the viewers of Coffee with Caregivers to the family. The National Foster Parent Association offers several membership opportunities for individuals, child placing agencies, and state and local affiliates. You can join today or donate at NFPAonline.org.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the National Foster Parent Association's Coffee with Caregivers episode for this week. It's a special week, Father's Day, having just passed. And so we wanted to highlight a father today, and we've got Arnie Eby with us. It's really Arnold Eby, but his friends call him Arnie. And I asked Arnie to be on, one, because we've known each other for a while, and I have high respect for Arnie and what he does and his family and his support of the National Foster Parent Association, his work in Maryland with the Maryland Resource Family Association. But kind of what I wanted to highlight is Arnie's family had an article about them in the latest, the May-June issue of Fostering Families Today. So here's Fostering Families Today. And if this is a magazine that you're not aware of, oh my goodness, Google them. It's a great magazine, comes out every 2 months. And it's all about foster care. And it's always positive, heartwarming, informative, and it's great. So cameras make me crazy on here. Here's the article called "We're the Lucky Ones" that Arnie wrote and was published in that magazine. And Arnie, it's a wonderful article, and it talks about your family. I wanted us to be able to kind of talk about the aspects of life, that led y'all to fostering, and what being a father in foster care truly means. And I know that one of the things that makes you who you are is your faith. And so the cup that I have today says, "Good morning, this is God. I will be handling all your problems today." And I know for myself as a foster parent, and certainly for my husband too, if we hadn't had our faith, we probably wouldn't have made it through some of the days that we were able to make it through. And I think most foster families feel that way about foster care. So, I want to just get started. And if you just introduce yourself and tell the audience, the important things about yourself that you think are important. And then we'll kind of talk about life as a foster father.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. You always ask us about cups, and I brought my cup that says Foster Love. That's been the motto for the Washington County Department of Social Services here in Hagerstown, where my wife and I have been fostering with for the last 20 plus years. And we also use that as a logo and on a lot of our promotional items at the Maryland Resource Parent Association. And so, and I know that foster love is a catchy catchword or phrase that's used by multiple people. So yes, my wife and I have been foster parents for a little over 20 years. We've had 130 plus different kids live with us across that point in time, and 4 of them have stayed. We have 2 sons that are 19 years old. We just had them. They went to different schools, so their high school graduation happened to be the same night. So as a foster family, you split up and go different places. That's one of the incredible things that is a result of being a foster family. So, and just being a family, sometimes you have to make choices. But then we also have 2 younger children who are 9 and 11, I believe, right now. And so And then we have two daughters in their 20s who no longer live at home. So yes, our journey through fostering has been pretty interesting. It's been a lot of personal growth, stretching. You mentioned faith. Yes, faith is a deep anchor for me and for our family. However, I as I think about being a dad, I'm thinking about one of the things my father taught me, that true greatness is like a river. The deeper it gets, the less noise it makes. And so as I was thinking about that on going into this conversation about fathers, about being a father, being a foster, adoptive dad, just like that saying that I received from my father so many years ago, that kind of depth is a choice. Being a foster dad is a choice. For me, was a choice. Being an adoptive dad was also another choice. So I just recently heard a presentation where somebody quoted Jeff Bezos and some of his thoughts about taking pride in your choices, not your gifts. And I was thinking about that as I was preparing for this, is that there's a lot of things we can be proud about, but they may be something we were actually given, not something that we actually made a choice to do. So for me, being a good dad, being a foster dad, being an adoptive dad is a choice. And I choose to continue to stay engaged in their lives. And that keeps stretching me and making me grow. So thanks for having me, Irene.
Yeah. There's a quote by Vincent Van Gogh that says, great things are not done by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together. And I think that's kind of, like all the choices we make, all of us, we make so many choices every day, whether we're cognizant of that's really what we're doing, right? But we're making decisions, we're making choices that are going to influence ourselves and everybody around us oftentimes. And I just love this. I love this quote because a lot of people function on impulse, and they wonder why their life is chaotic sometimes, because they're looking at impulse. They're not looking at the little things, the little choices that they're making, and how one builds into the other to bring success. So I think your father was very wise in certainly what he taught you as a young man.
Yes, I'm pretty lucky. Just like being a foster dad, I'm lucky in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Me, I love quotes. So here's one from Albert Einstein that I think fits too. Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value. That's kind of in the same realm, about we're so focused on certain things that sometimes we miss what's really important and what's really of value to those that we love. And I think that, if you look at some of these things, this is almost like some of the qualities that we see in people who make a conscious decision to step in and parent other people's children, whether it be for a few days, a few months, a year, or forever. Lots of thought has to go into that, and so much decision making, right? So many choices have to be made because we're not just making choices for that one particular child, but for everybody in our family and even our extended families. I know when we started fostering people, our family was like, oh, okay. And the more we got into it, it's like, why do y'all do that? Some of those kids are tough. And I said, well, if you knew what their background was, you'd understand why they're kind of tough, right? So what we're going to do is work really hard for them to learn that we're going to have to try to help them make sure that life isn't so tough anymore. and help them be equipped to make that for themselves in their future. But it's hard for people, I think, to sometimes understand what we do as foster parents when they, really don't have the perspective of that 24/7 responsibility, again, that we choose to take. And they wonder, why do you do that? Why do you put yourself through that? Arnie, why don't you just don't do that? Go fishing on Saturdays, right? I mean, don't worry about taking kids to therapy. Don't worry about getting them to the ball practices. Don't worry about, right, all those things. Because I actually had an aunt that said, why do you do that all the time? I mean, you're always busy. Y'all don't have time for some things, even family things sometimes for the greater family. And couldn't understand why I just didn't wash her hands of foster care. It was so sad to me that she didn't understand what value that had, not only for the children that we were serving, but for us as individuals and as a family. I mean, our family became so much stronger, so much closer as we fostered over 27 years. It wasn't a picnic for our kids all the time, but they turned out as adults to be the most incredible people who really care about others, right? And I remember in first grade, my oldest daughter kept coming home and saying, Mama, I think little so-and-so, little girl in her class, is being abused. And I said, Wendy, what do you mean? Well, some of the things she says, some things she does, Mama, I'm just looking at her like I've looked at some of the kids who've come and live with us. Now, remember, Wendy was 5 years old when she was saying this. It was early into the first grade. She hadn't even had her 6th birthday yet. And she kept telling me that. And I said, well, have you told the teacher? Well, yeah, but, she's not paying attention. So finally, after like a week of that, I went up to the school and I said, I really need to talk to you. Wendy says she's saying something. She's really, really, truly concerned about a specific child. And teacher said, well, yeah, she keeps telling me. And I said, well, maybe if you'd have a discussion with the little girl or something, send the nurse in or, whoever might be able to do that kind of thing. And the next week I got a call from the teacher telling me that they had looked into it. And indeed, that child was being physically abused, and that CPS had come in and were working with the family. And so I'm like, okay, at 5 years old, she was already able to recognize in other children that something was wrong. That's amazing. And as a woman now, she's going to hate me when I say this out loud on here, but she's 50 years old now, right? And her family seems like they're always taking in some kid, some teenager who can't go home for various reasons. And they have another young man there now. I think he's 19. And he says, I've never had a family like this. He calls us grandma and grandpa. It's amazing what the influence of fostering can have on our kids. And I always think when it's that significant on our kids, just think what the kids who join our families through foster care, what the impact of being a part of a family that they can learn to trust and know that is going to take care of them and do their right thing by them, what that really does for them in their future.
Well, I think that it's one of the situations where the choice we make gets passed down and passed on. And the choice to love, the choice to care, the choice to connect is something that our children get the incredible opportunity to witness, and they have then the choice to see how it changes them forever. And I know there are stories with my daughters as well about how the experiences that they've had have made them significantly more caring adults. So, I can sit here and you and I can talk about how proud we are of them, but the reality is that comes from choices we made and choices they made, and we're going to celebrate the fact that choices make a difference, and we do get the opportunity to make a choice.
Right. We do. Well, I think it's important to highlight how significant the interactions that the dads have in families are with their kids. I know we still have people who call us at the National Foster Parent Office and say, oh, I want to be a foster parent so bad, but my husband doesn't want to. Can he just not participate? Or how much does my husband have to be okay with being a foster parent? Can they just license me? I mean, we get these kinds of calls all the time, and we really have to say that this is foster care is a family affair. You don't bring other people's kids into your family and it not affect everybody that lives in your house, right? Every member of your family, because it will affect them in many ways, and that maybe they need to just talk to some foster families locally, take the husbands to to do that, learn a little bit more about what it means, because it's really hard to do that by yourself, and for children, I think personally, not to have that dad influence directly involved with their everyday life would be so sad. And it's not a good way of demonstrating to a child, what a dad can be, especially if they haven't had a good experience prior to foster care. Can you talk a little bit maybe about, some of the impact you think that dads can have directly on kids, and even maybe the impact that dads can have in working with the kids' birth parents in working towards reunification?
Well, first of all, I agree with you that it's certainly better. I mean, well, I can't imagine not being engaged in the family setting that we have. And even though I was probably the reluctant husband being dragged along to this, it's certainly been a two-person effort. And over the course of the last few years, my wife has actually had a work schedule that was significantly less flexible than mine. And through the pandemic, I've been working from home now since most of my time and energy is spent on foster and adoptive parent issues. So I'm here. I get kids on the bus. I get kids off the bus. I've become pretty good friends with the dog. He was just barking a lot here because the United Parcel Service driver just apparently left a package with a big dog bone on. So Bella let the dog out. So hopefully he doesn't interrupt us anymore. But it's an effort, and it takes a lot of time. And I can't imagine what it would be like if not being engaged and not being connected. And I do think that that a two-person family brings a different set of strengths to the table, and that helps balance it out. When one person is more maybe stressed or a little overworked with something else, then you get the opportunity to fill in, because I cannot imagine doing this by myself. And but it is, and like I said, I think the two-person interaction also makes a difference, particularly if you do the hard work of staying on the same page. because it helps children then also learn that they can't manipulate as easily the forces that be in the world and work around things, because working together creates the accountability and structure that helps them develop and gives them the security and strength that they need to work through and past some of the issues that are that they and get rid of some of the baggage that they carry into life.
Right. Yeah. Some years, I don't remember, probably we'd been fostering probably about 15 or 20 years at the point local newspaper in the little town where we lived wanted to do an article about foster care during May. And so they asked us if they could interview our family. And so one of the things they asked my husband and I was, is this hard on your marriage? I mean, you've got so many things to do, is it hard on your marriage? And we just looked at each other and said, you know what? It's probably helped our marriage because we have something we have to talk about all the time in order to get through the day, right? And to plan for, well, we're going to handle this, or what are we going to do about that? Or how are we going to get these 3 kids to 3 different places? And we only got two cars and 2 people to do it. All of those conversations. I said, we have to talk to one another. We have to have good communication, or we wouldn't be able to do this. And the reporter was kind of taken aback, and she said, really? I said, it hasn't drawn us apart. It's drawn us together. She made a big feature of that then in the article about that. So I thought it was kind of interesting. But I am so in awe of single foster parents. And I always, when I am at a point when I can visit with some, I always say, what is your support system like? Who do you have wrapped around you and your family that help you? Because I can't even imagine having fostered without having my spouse to bounce things off of, to help do everything, right? To pick up the slack when needed. What if one gets sick? Somebody's got to still fix breakfast and put lunches together, right? For the kids to go to school. All of those things. And so I do want to make a shout out here up to all those single moms and dads out there that are just absolutely doing a bang up job in fostering. And whether you're fostering or not, if you're a single parent, kudos to you. And if you don't have a strong network around you, start looking for some more people to surround you and help you, because they're out there, right? And keep doing the good work that you're doing. Kids are too important not to give it our best effort. The other thing I wanted to touch on before we end today, Arnie, was kind of like self-care. How do you take care of yourself? Another quote that I found from a woman named Anne Lamott said, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. And I love that one, because I look at that one when I get so wore out that I just don't think I have another drop of energy to do another thing. And I think women talk about self-care frequently. When we get together, we figure out ways to do self-care. But what about the dads? I mean, is that something that you think about, or is that more a mom thing?
Well, self-care is a unique thing, and it for me, and I don't have much experience with anybody else other than me, so I'm only going to speak from that perspective. I've had to learn where it was that I found my energy and my strength. No, with all those foster kids over the years, I haven't had a 4-hour round of golf didn't go over very well because if I had that much time not to be at the house, there was something on my list was not getting done. So my golf clubs haven't been out in a long time. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. I think the thing that we learn to do, though, is to talk to ourselves and to find out what matters. I used to travel back and forth to Baltimore frequently to meetings, and there's a point on Interstate 70 where I knew from that point to the house is 60 minutes. Now, that's generalized because once in a while there is a traffic backup in Frederick, but I have 60 minutes home. And so if I'm going to be ready and prepared to deal with whatever craziness it may be when I hit the house, I have that time to get ready. And so I generally shut the radio off and just kind of talk to myself. With the last 15 months with not traveling, that has become a lot harder. I have not found that hour here or that time that was built into my schedule because of traveling. So I've had to find other ways. Is it 5:30 in the morning getting up or finding some time, or is it at night? Because the last 15 months have really stretched us. I think, though, that it has been important to realize that I have gotten tireder. I think I'm probably more fatigued now because of the pandemic, caring for 5 children in elementary school who were on 4 different Zoom platforms at any given time. 2 of them went to the same school; none of the others did. So it created lots of virtual chaos, in my opinion. But that's the way I describe it. But you had to find your way to navigate that. You have to find that personal quiet time, and I think that's changed. And you have to, but you still have to say, make the decision to do it, make the choice to do it, and understand that it's not always going to be the same way.
That's right. You're right. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? Or everything that happens to us. You're absolutely right. Well, Arnie, I think our time is about up. And thank you so much. Always enjoy visiting with you. You're an inspiration to me. You're such a caring person. And I love it when dads can, have that example for their kids in everything that they do. I wanted to end with another little quote, and this was by Cesar Chavez. It says, "Grant me courage to serve others, for in service there is true life." And I just think that's absolutely true, right? When we serve others, that's when we become true to ourselves and life has meaning for us.
I would say, as a dad, my life is significantly deeper and broader because of all the encounters that I've had, the opportunity to say yes to a lot of situations that I had never planned on living through or encountering. But it has, like I said in the article that you talked about at the start, I have won, I have gained, and I think about the fact that I hope the kids won because I know I ended up a winner because I chose to engage and be involved. So thank you for your time. A shout out to all the dads out there who are fostering, who are an adoptive dad, or just work hard every day at being a dad. So
absolutely,
my hat's off to you, and it's an incredible journey. Just continue to make good choices.
Absolutely. So that's a good way to end. And so thanks everybody for being part of our program today. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at United Healthcare. For more information about United Healthcare, please visit www.uhc.com.